All right, we are back, and amidst all the other things we have going on, yesterday there's an interview published in the LA Times in which Lakers owner Jeanie Buss voiced her displeasure with where the Lakers are as an organization. They missed the playoffs this year despite having the fourth highest payroll. And while she threw her full support behind the general manager, Rob Pelinka, she did say she's taken advice from familiar faces like Magic Johnson and Phil Jackson. Here's a little bit of what she said. This is her quote on LeBron James and the influence that he and Clutch Sports have. Quote, do they have final say? No. Are they running the team? No, not at all. She did then add about LeBron, I want him to feel confident in the team that we have the pieces to win a championship. He has to be happy. I want to make sure that he's happy. So there's a lot here to react to. She said a lot of different things, but those are the ones that sort of jumped off the page at us. Let me bring the squad back in here. I've got Legler, and we bring Brian Windhorst into the conversation this morning. He's on the road with Boston, Milwaukee, and the big Swagoo will chime in as well because no one is as much into this stuff as he is. But Wendy, I will start with you. Jeanie Buss is, I think, one of the most well-liked and respected people in the sport, but there are a lot of people who have a lot of questions clearly about the direction of the franchise. What was your reaction to the things she said yesterday?
Well, I think she was really trying to speak to the Laker fans. You know, recently there was a poll done by one of the major fan websites that covers the Lakers that showed a dropping confidence level in her. And I know her perception with the fans is very important to her. So I think she wanted to set the record straight about Kurt and Linda Rambis. She spoke about that directly. She wanted to set the record straight about Rich Paul and LeBron James, connection and control of the franchise. She wanted to set the record straight about Phil Jackson. She says, I'm not going to deny the rumors. I'm listening to him. I'm talking to him. I'm having lunch with him. And so I think she wanted to get that out there. The most relevant thing that she said to me, Greenie, was complaining about the payroll, because that's something that could affect the decisions that she makes about this team going forward. She said it was unacceptable for them to have the fourth highest payroll and not make the playoffs. And it just goes back to the catastrophic Russell Westbrook trade, because not only did it not work on the court, it added $8 million to their payroll, and that was the amount of money that they were basically refused to pay Alex Caruso and let him walk. And so she is just enumerating further how hurtful that was to the team and her personal finances.
Yeah, and they go deep into the luxury tax, and they wind up, as you mentioned, not even making the play-in. So, Swagoo, I'm interested to hear your perspective. There's a lot of different angles here. One of the things people have pointed out is that when you're listening to that many people, I mean, you've got Rob Pelinka, you've got Phil Jackson, you've got Magic Johnson, you've got Kurt and Linda Rambis. When it can be difficult to make decisions when you are enlisting that many people to weigh in. What's your take on all this, Swagoo?
Gee, it's relevant in sports, it's relevant in business, it's relevant in family. Streamline the damn conversation. Figure out who has responsibility for what, and then you can immediately tell who's not doing their job effectively. I think listening to Legs and Wendy and the NBA guys talk about it, the cooks in the kitchen, right? How many do you have, and who's actually calling the shots? And the fact that Jeanie Buss has to come out and kind of clear things up about who is doing what in the organization, that's a problem within itself. Now, obviously, we saw on the court it not work out between LeBron and Russell Westbrook, and there's basketball reasons for that. Ball-dominant guys. How does Russell Westbrook work off the ball? How can he implement himself in the offense, a championship-level offense, and be what they need him to be? But ultimately, when I hear this come from Jeanie Buss, when I hear Wendy talk about it, and I was looking at it and listening to it yesterday, the one thing that came to my mind is, with all of the success that this franchise and organization has had in the NBA, with all of the success that they've had with their stars, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars of the world, the James Worthys, obviously Magic, obviously Kobe Bryant, LeBron comes in and wins a championship, it's like this with the Lakers. They're looking for a level of consistency, as they should, because they are the Los Angeles Lakers. And people have to wonder about who's making decisions. That's the problem within itself.
And then, Legs, Wendy brought up one piece that I think is very relevant to the moment. The other, of course, is LeBron. If you're LeBron and you're reading that, I have no reason to believe that he's not in regular communication. In fact, Jeanie Buss said that they are in regular communication about the direction of the franchise. If you're LeBron sitting right now and you're reading that and you're assessing the situation, how are you feeling?
I actually think LeBron James understands that Jeanie Buss is doing what she needs to do, and I don't think he's going to think that in any way he was slighted or his influence was somehow diminished. I think everybody knows that's the way it works works in the NBA, particularly. Star players do have influence. They are guys that you need to consult with because of their mindset and their mental really well-being with who they're playing with is so important to your success that you'd be derelict to not include them. But I don't think LeBron's going to feel slighted by that. I love the points that both Winnie and Swagoo made, which is this. Who's ultimately responsible? And think the fact that you're even having a conversation, as Swagoo said, that you don't know the answer to that. Think about the way that any successful organization or business is talked about. You never doubt it. If somebody says, well, who made that decision? Who's in charge? You know a name that you could throw out with a successful business, right? Or a successful organization in sports. I don't know that we know the answer to that question. Who's pounding that gavel for the Lakers organization?
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.